do that? And I thought, well, one way to do it is to do what I do best, which is storytelling. And tonight, I'd like to dedicate tonight's gathering to a little boy. He's this long. He goes through the same phase of storytelling that we all use, right? We start off with celebration. For him, it was being born. One of a set of twins. Yay! I'm here, world, he says. And then comes a challenge in the story. For him, they discovered a hole in his heart. And you think, oh, okay, what are we going to do about that? So in comes all the opinions and things like this, and then eventually they decided the best thing they can do was to wait till he gets to this massive 2 kilos, and when he reached 2 kilos, they would consider whether or not they could operate, which they did. They did that last Friday. In there with the pneumatic drills and do all the things that they do for operating on little babies, you know, this long. And he went through, and that night he went through a few challenges, you know, like his heart was going at about 240 or something like that, which is a bit high for him, but yeah, he went through. By the next morning, he was going at 170, which is, for a young baby, that's fine. You know, that's reasonably normal. Mum, my daughter, goes over to feed the other of the twins, gets the phone call. Little Liam has just had a cardiac arrest. Now, for the last 2 days, Liam has been in the Mater, not 300 metres from here, with tubes running out of his chest. He's being pumped by a machine to be able to stay alive. He's got a ventilator running through his nose to keep him alive. And yet, that little fella, he's on about living. It's written on every pore of his body. There is no way in the world that this fella has given up. Why? Because he accepts what is happening to him right now as being his total reality. What a lesson for us to learn. When we start writing our stories like we have done, we set it in a fictitious little town. We call it Moonberry Bush. And Moonberry Bush is a town with its act together. It's a town that has a serial pest. It's a town that accepts the serial pest and has to mend all the things that he does, right? So in the 100th tree, this book that we're celebrating tonight, in the 100th tree, the little Whitty, she's off to plant her 100th tree. She's 8. So if you do the mathematics, she's planted quite a few in a month to be able to get to 100. But in the process of doing that, she comes across a challenge. Guess what? Here's Froudy out there doing clear felling. Shock and horror, right? So how is Whitty going to be able to solve the problem of this big burly Froudy using his yellow machine, his bulldozer, to be able to clear? Well, she does that, and you can find out how, simply by reading the book. But anyway, she does that, but then there's the consequence. Just little Liam had a consequence. He had a really severe thing to deal with. You know, he had a cardiac arrest. Froudy's wasn't as bad as that, but it was technically just as bad for the environment because he'd pushed all the rubbish into the creek. And that creek now was pushing it down into the river and into the bay. And there were going to be all sorts of things because there was plastic muck and everything in that rubbish that was going down there. So the kids now had to be able to stop all that stuff. And they go through their challenges, and they do. And just like little Liam, at the end of the story, it ends up with sustainability. The whole of the town comes out together to be able to replant the trees that were bulldozed. As I'm thinking of that story, I'm thinking of what's happening to little Liam, my number 8 grandchild. The way he is not giving up. It's the lesson that I take from him and say, the job that we have to do to be able to get people to understand that the environment is something that is beautiful and needs to be protected by us, not used by us, but protected by us, that's the courage that we need to have. And so dedicating tonight to Liam is a dedication to courage. He's got it, and we can share in that.